Good morning, students. Today, in our social science class, we are going to take our history chapter. The name of the chapter is Town, Traders, and Craftspersons. In this chapter, we are going to see how the travelers visit different places in the medieval towns. That means during the medieval period, and they used to go to the different towns. Those who were famous for temple towns, administration centers, commercial towns, or a port town, to name just some possibilities. In this, many towns combined several functions. They were administrative centers, temple towns, as well as centers of commercial activities and craft production. Now, first of all, we are going to take the administrative center. In this, we will see that in how during the time of Chol dynasty, where the center was famous for its temples, and this town was very famous for the temple where the Chol Raja, who was famous as Raja Rajeshwara, built a temple named as Raja Rajeshwara Temple. The town people are all praised for its architectural work done by a person who has carved his name on the temple walls. In this temple, there are many statues related to Lord Shiva and a huge, massive idol, or we can see a statue of Shiva Linga. Besides the temple, there are places with the mandapas or the pavilions. Kings used to hold his court in these mandapas and solve the problems of the people. And with that, he used to issue orders to their subordinates. There were also barricades for the army. The town is bustling with markets selling grains, spices, clothes, and jewelry. In the town, water was supplied from the wells and the tanks. Now, after that, we have temple towns and pilgrimage centers. Tanjore, which was an example of temple town, also was an important center of urbanization. That means the process where city develops. Temples were often central to the economy and society. Rulers used to build temples to demonstrate their devotion to the various deities. That means they were very much devoted toward the deity of the temples. They also endured temples with grants of land. That means they used to give lands to the temples and money to carry out elaborate rituals, feed pilgrims and priests, and celebrate functions. That means all the money that was spent for the maintenance of these temples and for the charity work was given by the rulers. Pilgrims who flocked to the temples also used to make some donations. The temple's authorities used their wealth to finance trade and banking. That means whatever the money was given by the king to the temples, the temple members, the people of the temples, they used this money to finance trades, to carry on the trades, and for the banking. That means for giving loans to the people. Here, the pilgrimage centers also slowly developed into township. Vrindavan is an example of such pilgrimage center. In the same way, Ajmer in Rajasthan is one of the important centers of the pilgrimage. After that, we have the craftspersons of Lidar were so famed for their inlays. That means people who used to do the craft work. Here they were famous and they were called the Lidars. Work in copper and silver that it came to be called Bidi, work that was done with the metal, silver and copper. That technique of doing work is called Bidi. Paschal or Mishrawal's community consisting of goldsmith, brownsmith, blacksmith, masons and carpenters were essential to the building of temples. Also played an important role in the construction of palaces, big buildings, tanks and reservoirs. Weavers such as Salveri and Korean emerged as prosperous communities making donation to the temple. Aspects of cloth making like cotton, cleaning, spinning and dyeing became specialized and important crafts in those temple towns. European countries were searching for spices and textile, which had become popular both in Europe and in West Asia. England, Dutch, and French formed East India Company to expand their commercial activities in the East. Great Indian traders like Mullah Abdul Hungberg and Virit Voka completed with them. Demands for goods like textile led to great expansion of the craft of spinning, weaving, bleaching, dyeing, etc. In the 19th century, there was a huge rise of Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras merchants and artisans. They moved into the black towns established by the European companies with these cities. Here, black towns means the places, the towns where only the Indians could live and they cannot go to the Dutches or the European colonies. Hampi, located in the Krishna Aurangabad basin, capital of Vijayanagar Empire, founded in 1336. Its magnificent ruins reveals a fortified city. Architecture was distinctive activity. Building in the royal complex held splendid arcs, domes, and pillar halls with niches for holding sculptures. All these activities were taking place in Hampi during the period, in the medieval period. Breasted with commercial and cultural activities, Moors, Chattis, and agents of weapon traders such as Portuguese wronged the market of Hampi. Now, what was the network of the small towns? Small towns had manbit, or we can say band of later times, to which nearby villages brought their produce to sell. They also had market streets called the chata or hearts lined with shops for different kinds of artisans. Some traders lived in the towns, others traveled from town to town. Zamindars built a fortified palaces in or near these towns. Alauddin's administrative measures were successful and praised. He successfully withstood the threat of Mongol invasion. Children hear what they are saying with the extension of the small towns. into the big urbanized cities. Slowly and slowly, they were attracted by the foreign invaders like the Mongolian invasions. Then, after comes the Surat. It was a most developed port town for the trade. Surat in Gujarat was emporium for western trade. That means from Surat in the west direction trade used to take place. It was gateway for trade with Western Asia. Why the Gulf or Orzur has also been called the gate to Makkah because many pilgrim ships set sail for here. The city was com- the city was composed of many people from all the castes and creeds lived here. Portuguese, Dutch, and English had their factories and warehouses at Surat. Several retail and wholesale shops selling cotton textile had a market in the West Asia, Africa, and Europe for their gold like borders. Surat Rundis were honored in the far off markets of Caronia in Egypt, Cairo in Egypt, Borsa in Iran, Iraq, and at Natwi in Belgium is a hustling commercial trade. Children here, they are trying to see that how trade used to take place from our country during the medieval period to different parts of the world. In this way, we have seen that how these small towns grew into the big developed towns and how slowly and slowly the commercial started, trade and commerce started from these places. Thank you.